Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. A suspect opened fire at an airport and a church in Kentucky yesterday, leaving multiple people, including a state trooper, injured. We have the latest details on this developing story. Do you remember how Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, all called for Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking secrets to be made public? Yet, we're far from that actually happening, and supporters of President Trump were shocked last week when the Attorney General suggested there's now nothing to report. What's the real story? We dive into what we learned over the weekend. Tom Homan schooled CNN host Dana Bash yesterday as the liberal host tried to confront him on the latest leftist activist judge claiming that ICE agents are profiling suspected illegals in California. As you may suspect, Mr. Homan wasn't intimidated. James Gunn's Superman launched the DCU, but did politics weaken its takeoff over the weekend? Did you see it? Did you see the latest Superman? We'll talk about that. And a candidate for governor of South Carolina finds himself in the middle of a business dispute at a very inconvenient time early in his campaign. It's Monday. We got a lot to talk about. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
All right, folks, let's talk about the elephant in the courtroom, or maybe the ghost in the jail cell. Last week, the Department of Justice dropped a bombshell, or maybe more of a dud, depending on who you ask. According to a leaked memo, the DOJ, and I quote, "No incriminating client list was found in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Also, no credible evidence of blackmail, and didn't find a reason to potentially investigate uncharged third parties." In other words, they're closing the case, not with a bang, but with a shrug. And Trump supporters, the MAGA world, not happy. How many people did you hear talking about this over the weekend? I had a number of people talk about it with me. For years, Trump supporters believed that Epstein's island wasn't just a paradise for the perverse, but the center of a global blackmail operation that involved elites, celebrities, maybe even some political figures. So when Trump's own Justice Department suddenly says, sorry, nothing to see here, the blowback was furious. So let's just rewind for a second. How did we get here? When Attorney General Pam Bondi took office earlier in the year, one of the first women to hold the post under Trump, she came in promising transparency. She went on Fox News and other media and said that she had the Epstein files, the JFK files, and even the MLK files. And they were all on her desk. And people took that to mean bombshells were coming. The expectations were high. She followed that up with press releases saying that the administration was fulfilling Trump's promise to expose the, quote, disgusting actions of Epstein and his co-conspirators. She even gave the FBI a hard deadline, Friday at 8 a.m., to produce every document they had on Epstein. And according to Ms. Bondi, they did. Thousands of pages, videos, files, photos. So imagine the confusion when this new DOJ memo said, essentially, there's no evidence of anything criminal beyond Epstein himself. There is no client list. There's no credible blackmail. And as for those tapes Bondi once referenced, well, turns out they're reportedly child porn Epstein collected, not videos of Epstein's so-called clients doing anything criminal. Ms. Bondi clarified her earlier remarks. She said that she was misunderstood, that the files were on her desk, yes, but so were others. And as for the videos, they're being reviewed, but not released. And they never will be, she said, because they're evidence of child abuse. Now, that would be a bombshell in itself, but not only did the DOJ, who were pursuing criminal cases based on that material, and according to this memo, they're not now. So what changed? And why are some of the very people who are Epstein truthers now defending the status quo? And does that concern you? For example, Kash Patel. And I think Kash Patel is a great guy. Kash Patel was, that we were expecting big things out of him. He's Trump's FBI director, former Trump advisor, outspoken deep state critic, and a guy who once said that the black book, Epstein's alleged client list, should be released on day one of a new Trump presidency. He promised it could be done with one subpoena. Back in 2023, he was on podcast saying, "Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are." Fast forward to now, present day, Mr. Patel says, after reviewing the files, there's no evidence Epstein was murdered and no evidence of an elite blackmail ring. In fact, he said he believes Epstein took his own life. Sources say Bondi and FBI Director Patel have been in touch several times over the past few days, and that they're on the same page with what was released on Friday. However, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, according to reports, is considering resigning over the Justice Department's handling of the Epstein files. A source close to Fox News, and Fox News reported over the weekend, noting that Bongino took a day off from work on Friday due to his frustrations. Bongino has not been seen in the office since Wednesday, according to sources. He has yet to make a final decision about his future, sources say. Now, the latest revelation comes on the heels of a heated argument, evidently, between Bongino and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi that occurred on Wednesday of last week at the White House. A couple of sources have confirmed this, according to Fox News. Sources close to Bondi say she has no intention of stepping down and is proud of the department and its work, because Dan Bongino reportedly has said that if Pam Bondi doesn't step down, he's going to resign. Patel, too, says he is happy with the job and has no intentions of leaving. The White House? What's the White House saying? Well, Principal Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Fields released a statement saying President Trump has assembled a highly qualified and experienced law and order team dedicated to protecting Americans, holding criminals accountable, and delivering justice to victims. This work is being carried out seamlessly and with unity. Any attempt to sow division within this team is baseless and distracts from the real progress being made in restoring public safety and pursuing justice for all. Earlier on Friday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche also pushed back on reports of internal strife, saying, "I work closely with FBI Director Kash and FBI Assistant Director Bongino on the joint FBI and DOJ memo regarding the Epstein files." He posted on X, "All of us signed off on the content of the memo and the conclusions stated in the memo. The suggestion by anyone that there is any daylight between FBI and DOJ leadership on this memo's composition and release is patently false." So he denies it. He says they're all good. So what's this? The reports about Dan Bongino getting ready to walk out if some changes aren't made. So here we are. The MAGA DOJ says the case is closed, and the MAGA base not buying it. Social media is full of posts from angry Trump supporters who feel betrayed, saying, "We waited for this. Where's the list? Where's the justice?" I saw it posted all over social media over the weekend. I saw a lot of people on my social media sites commenting on it. And the rift has apparently gotten bad enough that some insiders are saying, I'm out of here if this doesn't change. Again, Dan Bongino supposedly clashing with Attorney General Bondi behind closed doors. That they were shouting, that he walked out and reportedly is threatening to resign. We don't know. I'm sure there'll be some clarification on that in the coming days, if not today. Meanwhile, President Trump is trying to keep the team together. On Truth Social, he defended Bondi and says she's doing a fantastic job, told his base to stop attacking members of his administration. He also brushed off Epstein entirely. During a cabinet meeting, a reporter brought it up. He said, somebody nobody cares about, referencing Epstein. What do you think? Are we going to just move on? Are we just going to accept the fact that there was no list? Or do you think that there's something fishy going on with this whole thing? Email me. Text me. Joey@joeyhudson.com.
Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
It was a quiet Sunday morning in Kentucky until it wasn't. Another horrific story out of there just before noon yesterday. Gunfire shattered the peace at two locations in Lexington. First at the city's airport, and then just minutes later at a Baptist church. What we know so far is disturbing. Multiple people were shot. A state trooper was among the injured, and the shooter is now dead. The first report started coming in around 11:30 a.m. when Kentucky State Police received calls about a shooting at Bluegrass Airport in Fayette County. Before law enforcement could fully assess the situation there, more chaos erupted, this time at Richmond Road Baptist Church, just a short drive away. We started receiving the news alerts that there was a shooter on the loose in Kentucky. Had no idea what it was. Within a minute's time or so, I was bombarded with all these various alerts. You probably were too. According to authorities, the suspect moved quickly between the two locations. It's still unclear exactly how or why. Police haven't released a lot of the details yet. I'm sure we'll get that today. But what is clear is that by the time the shooting spree ended, multiple people had been wounded. One state trooper was rushed for medical care. The suspect was killed on the scene. Police have not released its identity as of late last night. Kentucky State Police have confirmed, though, that they're leading the investigation, which they describe as a developing active story. Officers, emergency responders flooded both locations. Bluegrass Airport, which is a regional hub serving Lexington and the surrounding communities of that central part of Kentucky. And then Richmond Road Baptist Church, where worship services were likely underway when the shooting began. And it just kind of brings back the memories over the past years of church shootings, doesn't it? You would think that you can go to your church on Sunday to study the Bible, sing praise hymns, listen to a good sermon, and literally worship with your friends and your neighbors in your community church, and not have to look over your shoulder and be fearful that someone's going to come in the back door and start shooting. But in today's world, that is something you have to think about. And this is why so many churches now have armed guards on site. You may not recognize them, that they're in plain clothes, but a lot of churches have them now, as they probably should. Senator Rand Paul was one of the first public officials to respond. He posted on X, saddened to hear about the tragic shooting at Bluegrass Airport and Richmond Road Baptist Church. Kelly and I are praying for all the victims, the injured trooper, and their families. We're grateful for the brave first responders. Violence like this has no place. And he's right. This is a sentiment echoed by Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who urged calm and compassion in a brief public statement as well. He said, please pray for everyone affected by these senseless acts of violence, and let's give thanks for the swift response by the Lexington Police Department and Kentucky State Police. Details are still emerging, and we will share more information as available. At this point, again, we're not sure of the motive. No information about the victims has been released. It remains unclear just how many people were injured total. What we do know is that Richmond Road Baptist Church, like many churches across America, was simply gathering for worship. Families, children, elders, the most ordinary of Sundays turned into a nightmare for these families, for this community. And at the airport, travelers were either arriving for flights or waiting to be picked up. It's the kind of place where you expect hustle, movement, greetings, not a madman with a gun. According to eyewitnesses, they said that they heard loud pops followed by screams. Some thought it was fireworks. Others instinctively dropped to the floor, they said. One man who had just arrived at the airport to pick up his daughter told the local Fox affiliate that he saw people running, one of them bleeding from the leg. Another woman who had attended the church's morning service described the shooting as like thunder in the sanctuary, sudden, loud, and terrifying. It will have to be. Again, you're right in the middle of a church service, not expecting this to happen. And suddenly there's gunfire. As the news trickled in, so did support from leaders, communities around the state of Kentucky. State Representative Matt Lockett, who represents parts of Fayette County, issued a statement calling the shooting a gut-wrenching tragedy that hits at the very heart of our community. He said, we stand with the victims and with the families and with the brave officers who put their lives on line today. And that's what you have to keep in mind in a situation like this, are these first responders. And you know my support of first responders, of law enforcement, of firefighters, EMTs, anybody who is called upon to respond to emergencies like this. But you think about that. You've got, in this community, it's not a small community, but it's not a big city like New York either, but this area, you've got first responders going first to the airport, and then suddenly another call to a church. And they know that there's been shootings, but they don't know by whom, and they don't know where this person is. And they're trying to rush to help the victims, people that they know who have already been shot, but yet they know that they could be shot themselves. That this madman could be lying in wait for them to show up, just like we saw, a couple of weeks ago of this fire that was set purposely. And some firefighters lost their lives because they responded to a fire, which is what they do, only for this sick person was waiting for them to ambush them. So if you see a firefighter out, if you see a police officer out, if you see an EMT, any first responder out this week, let them know that you're thankful, that they're in your community, that they're there to help keep you safe, and they're there to respond when something like this does happen. We're told that the injured trooper was in stable condition and was being treated at a local hospital. Again, I don't know that his name has been made public, or at least I don't know it yet. So let's be clear. This isn't the first time, again, that we've seen violence erupt at a sacred space or at places of transit. But the coordination between these two locations, so close in time and distance, is especially troubling. Investigators are trying to determine whether this was premeditated, random, or targeted, or what the connection with an airport and a church is. And as they do, security has been stepped up at other houses of worship across the area. We'll go on high alert next Sunday. But it shouldn't be this way. We shouldn't have to be on high alert in our houses of worship. We don't know the answers. What we do have are images, heartbreaking ones, of emergency crews, emergency lights, of stained glass windows of a church, paramedics wheeling out stretchers of people who have been injured. That's what we do know. So let's pray for these victims in Kentucky.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com.
On the text line, Albert writes, the mainstream media showed ICE agents being attacked by California brick-throwing thugs. The agents showed great restraint by not shooting them, these scumbags. It's time for ICE to use whatever force is necessary to eliminate these vermin. Did you happen to see what was supposed to be a hostile interview on CNN State of the Union yesterday with Trump administration's border czar Tom Homan? I mean, CNN's Dana Bash was lying in wait, ready to ambush Mr. Homan. It ended with Ms. Bash getting roasted for the obvious double standard of coverage in comparison to facilities during the border overrun that occurred during the Biden presidency. Reasonable individuals may conclude, as did Mr. Homan, that things were different back then. Ms. Bash tried to push the left's alligator Alcatraz talking points on Tom Homan, and it didn't go too well.
To what is going on in Florida, and that is what I do want to turn to what is going on in Florida, and that is what the administration, what you call alligator Alcatraz, was visited by Democratic members of Congress yesterday. They were given limited access, and this, of course, is a new detention facility set up by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. What these Congress people described was sweltering heat, bug infestations, meager meals. They say they heard detainees crying out for help. The wife of one man detained there said he's not been given access to a lawyer. He's been in detention for about 2 weeks. Is that acceptable to you? And is that what you're seeing when you go?
I have not been there yet, and I doubt a lot of that's factual. I mean, bottom line is, from the day one, I've been doing this job since 1984, detainees complain about the conditions of detention. And I've said this many times, you can simply go to ice.gov and look at the detention standards ICE has. They have the highest detention standards in the industry. But these same congressmen are complaining about alligator Alcatraz. You didn't see them complaining about, under the Biden administration, people being held in a Border Patrol parking lot surrounded by a fence in the sweltering heat. Not a word. You didn't hear a word about 500,000 children being trafficked in the country and them not being able to locate 300,000. President Trump, this administration, is finding thousands of those children. So, they have a lot of anger under President Trump on how we're doing business, and they ignored 4 years of open borders, historic migrant death, historic Americans dying from fentanyl, historic numbers of women and children being sex trafficked, historic number of people on terrorist watch lists coming across the border. Silence. Because they're complicit, because they didn't take the administration on and ask them to secure the border. You can't have strong national security in this country if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming and what's coming and where it's coming. But instead, they kept silent and they kept feeding the American people, we have a secure border, and we did not.
And he's right, isn't he? I mean, you never heard the published complaints of the conditions of some of these facilities that were processing these thousands of people coming into the country at the southern border. In Joe Biden's effort to try to show that he had somewhat of controls at the southern border, right? Now, this all started on Friday when Democrats lost their minds after Mr. Homan listed physical appearance as one of the criteria that ICE officers and Border Patrol agents can take into consideration when developing reasonable suspicion to briefly detain and question people. They accused Homan of saying that ICE officers and Border Patrol agents can and will detain people simply based on their appearance. Here's what Homan actually said then. Look, people need to understand ICE officers and Border Patrols don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need totality of the circumstances, right? They just go through the observation, get our typical facts based on the location, the occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Homan appeared on CNN State of the Union yesterday and explained slowly and meticulously for the intellectually challenged, like Miss Bash, how reasonable suspicion works and the factors, and plural, factors taken into consideration before law enforcement officers stop or detain someone. Of course, they're not detaining, arresting people simply because of the color of their skin or where they work. Here's the exchange as they got into the physical description and what Miss Bash was trying to push Homan into a corner of and accusing him of basically racially profiling some of the illegal immigrants that they are stopping, detaining, and questioning, particularly in Los Angeles, because the mayor of Los Angeles, the governor of California, Mr. Newsom, who, of course, visited the Palmetto State last week. Any of you go see him? I've heard a lot of people who went to some of the stops where he was. But you know, their idea of just leaving people alone unless you actually see them breaking the law, we would never be able to deport people. I mean, it's very clear, and I'm not an officer, but it's very clear. You can tell with certain characteristics, and Mr. Homan gets into it. Let's just listen to the exchange real quick.
Let's talk about that reasonable suspicion and what it actually means on the ground when it comes to ICE detaining people. You said in an interview this week that reasonable suspicion can be based on, quote, the location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. What about an individual's physical appearance would give immigration agents, quote, reasonable suspicion that they might be in the U.S. illegally?
Well, first of all, let me be clear. Physical description can't be the sole factor to give you reasonable suspicion. As I said in an interview, it's articulable facts with an S. So appearance can be just one. For instance, if someone has an MS-13 tattoo on their face, that may be one factor to add to other factors to raise reasonable suspicion. I want to be clear about that again because my words are taken out of context. Physical description cannot be the sole reason to detain and question somebody. That can't be the sole reason to raise reasonable suspicion. It's a myriad of factors, and I could sit here for the next half hour and give you all the factors. Mm-hmm. So every officer, every situation is different. But I can tell you this, every ICE officer goes through Fourth Amendment training every 6 months and reminded what their authorities are for arrest, detention, and questioning. So the officers are very well trained. So I look forward to DOJ litigating this judge's decision, because I think she's making a decision while knowing what that officer knows when they get out of that vehicle to question somebody.
So what that same judge in the case said is that an individual's race or ethnicity, the language they speak or their accent, their presence at a particular location like a bus stop or a work site, or the type of work they do does not qualify as reasonable suspicions.
Well, like I said, there are factors that lead to reasonable suspicion. There's a myriad of factors. Every case is different. I'm not going to disagree with everything the judge has said because, a location alone shouldn't have reasonable suspicion. It's a combination of articulable facts that an officer determines before he detains somebody for a short period of time and questions them. So again, every case is different articulable facts for different people in different places. Yep. So I look forward to litigation. I think we will win this on appeal.
Okay, so obviously you're appealing, but until that happens, the administration will comply with the judge's order?
The administration is never going to go against the judge's order. We'll litigate it, we'll win it, Then we'll get back to doing what we're doing.
Now, as we've talked about many times, I mean, a Biden-appointed federal judge, again, a rogue judge in Los Angeles on Friday, ruled in favor of the ACLU and other plaintiffs who allege that agents are stopping and arresting people based on physical appearance and the language they speak, saying that, quote, roving patrols without reasonable suspicion violate the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and denying access to lawyers violates the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, and concluding that's what federal immigration officers are doing in California. Now, the judge is correct that roving patrols without reasonable suspicion and detaining people, that is unconstitutional. But as Mr. Homan very clearly explained, there's a lot goes into this. And these are trained law enforcement officers. So if you see a guy who is Hispanic, yes, his skin is brown, he speaks Spanish, he has a tattoo of MS-13 on his forehead, I would think that it would be reasonable to suspect that he may be in our country illegally. And I would think that it would be okay, that it would be reasonable that a ICE agent would at least be able to ask him questions. Now, if he doesn't want to answer those questions, that's suspect in itself, isn't it? I mean, ask him, are you here legally? Do you have a job? I mean, what's wrong with that? How will we ever round the illegals up and deport those who should be going back to their country if you cannot have that conversation? Again, if there are certain factors involved, multiple factors, as Mr. Homan so very clearly communicated.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com.
Did you run out to a theater over the weekend to see Superman? There's a lot riding on the new Superman, not just for Warner Brothers and DC Comics films, but for the future of the entire DC Cinematic Universe, DCU. A fresh plot, a new actor donning the cape, and James Gunn, recently crowned creative chief of DCU, taking the reins as writer and director. This wasn't just another superhero movie. This was, you could probably say, a franchise reset, the flagship launch of a whole new era for DC, and the studio needed a big hit. Did they get it? We'll get into that in just a moment. First off, a breaking story over the weekend. State Senator Josh Kimbrell, who has been a guest on this show many times over the years, has been accused of cheating his business partner in a Spartanburg-based aeronautics company out of millions of dollars, which a sworn associate says was used in order to boost his political ambitions. Senator Kimbrell's camp, meanwhile, is aggressively disputing the allegations, characterizing the claims as a politically motivated complaint about internal company politics, time to sabotage his campaign for governor. Now, hopefully at some point, we'll get a chance to talk with Senator Kimbrell so that he can tell his side of the story here on the show. In a 16-page lawsuit that was filed last week in Greenville County, the business partner, Frank George Rogers, claims that Mr. Kimbrell and his wife, Lilia, used a series of complex financial transactions over the course of a 2.5-year period to divert more than $2 million in revenues from the company he and Rogers co-own, Exodus Aircraft, into a similarly named sham company Kimbrell created late last year called Exodus Airways. That's the accusation. Those fraudulently acquired funds, according to Rogers, were subsequently diverted via Kimbrell, an associate banker, Thomas Blake Whitaker, for Kimbrell's personal use, and diverted to other corporate entities to pay for Kimbrell's personal credit cards, and Rogers claims to support Kimbrell's political aspirations. I'm assuming he means a run for governor. In other cases, Rogers claimed Kimbrell pursued secretive business loans on Exodus' behalf without Rogers' knowledge, at one point even allegedly forging Rogers' signature on a document to certified lenders seeking money. According to the complaint, thus far, based upon incomplete documentation, Rogers has identified in excess of $2 million in unaccounted for corporate funds diverted from Exodus by Kimbrell, his spouse, banker Whitaker, and other individuals who may be joined to this lawsuit. The complaint says if allowed to continue, Kimbrell's diversion of Exodus funds will inflict irreparable harm upon the company for which no adequate legal remedy exists. Now, Senator Kimbrell did issue some responses to various media. A statement put out by his campaign by Rebecca Madsen. Madsen said, we're witnessing a regrettable, uncorroborated case of lawfare from a disgruntled, absent business partner with no function or daily involvement in our operations. I'm confident that the facts will come to light, leading to full vindication. We will, of course, be following this story. It's concerning, but look, there's always two sides of the story. Again, maybe we will get a chance to list or to talk with Senator Kimbrell. And look, he's always welcome to come on the show and give us his side of the story. So back to Superman. The movie debuted this weekend with a $122 million haul. Solid, if maybe not totally super. For context, let's put Superman in third place among 2025's openings, behind the Minecraft movie and Disney's Lilo and Stitch reboot. So it was respectable. But what's raising eyebrows, it's not necessarily the box office numbers, it's the messaging. While out promoting his new film, Mr. Gunn chose to wade into political waters, describing his Superman as an immigrant and following up that framing with a sharp screw them to anyone who took issue. Not exactly a quote from the How to Win Over Middle America playbook. He was defiant. Now, it doesn't take a studio executive to know that alienating part of your potential audience, particularly for a mass market tentpole like Superman, is a risky move. Gunn's comments may have been personal and principled, but from a marketing perspective, they were probably very damaging. He's not just directing one movie. He's trying to build an entire cinematic universe, and he needs everyone on board. Box office analysts noticed something interesting. According to Intelligence, about 67% of the film's ticket sales came from blue counties, while just 33% came from those counties known to be red, who supported conservative Republican candidates. It's not unheard of for a PG-13 superhero release, but for a film that was meant to unite fans under this new DC banner, it's very telling. The message, whether it's fair or not, it's a fact that his comments probably has alienated a large portion of conservatives. Look, I didn't go see the movie, but that's not necessarily anything unusual because I don't go to theaters a lot. I don't go see movies. But when I saw that he had made these comments, I determined then that I wouldn't go see this one. I mean, I'm not a big Superman movie buff anyway. But when you see these types of comments, and then you see that this person is trying, again, to recreate a new, this is a movement, a Superman movement, and he makes those types of comments, never going to happen. If you're Warner Brothers, you're probably breathing a cautious sigh of relief because you had a pretty good opening weekend, but you got to be looking at those numbers. You got to be realizing that what you could have had Mr. Gunn not made those statements. It also puts the movie in obviously comparison to some of the other big hits, and whether or not it can be sustaining. It can sustain support. Hollywood has a habit of overestimating its cultural persuasion. It's one thing to tell a story with thematic weight. It's another to frame your PR messaging in a way that sounds like a lecture. And Gunn, he's a talented filmmaker. His work on Guardians of the Galaxy was a big hit, but it requires a bit of diplomacy, not the defiance that we witnessed in Mr. Gunn. Because this isn't just about one movie again. Gunn is now the DC equivalent of Kevin Feige. Every casting choice, every original story, every crossover, post-credit teaser goes through him. The success of Superman isn't just about ticket sales about this one movie. It's about potential movies down the road. Does the audience trust him to guide this universe for the next decade, for additional movies, for the next release? This weekend's numbers suggest maybe not. Maybe it's not going to go over as well as they had hoped. Were you even aware of all of the hoopla surrounding Superman? Does it matter to you that this guy evidently has some political beliefs that you and I probably don't agree with? That he was so defiant, that he seemed to have the attitude that, look, hey, I don't need him. They can come, they can go. I don't care. Will you go see Superman? Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.